Throughout the first season of House of the Dragon, OTTO Hightower tends to be right about many things. However, because he is such an unlikable character, people in the audience tend to not give him much credit for the counsel that he gives to Viserys, nor do they really think carefully enough on the wisdom of Otto's suggestions. Yes, he does seem to be selfish and crafty throughout the season, and I am in no way suggesting that OTTO Hightower is not any of those things, but there are also many times when his suggestions are actually sage and rational. For example, Otto obviously doesn't like Daemon, nor does he enjoy having him around, but throughout the show, we actually see that Otto has very good reasons for wanting Daemon far away from the small council. Viserys is the king, which means that his word is essentially law. However, Daemon is a character who believes that as king, Viserys is above the law. Daemon hates the fact that Viserys is so weak, and he wishes that his brother were a stronger king. But Daemon's idea of strength is not ideal either. He doesn't like following the rules, and so he does whatever he wants with no limitations. He rounds a bunch of criminals in the street, and then he hacks their limbs off without so much as a fair trial. Some of these people could have been innocent of the charges that were laid against them, but that doesn't matter to Daemon. He is unjust and rash, and would be a terrible influence on Viserys. This is why Otto wants him far away from the court.
A half measure, your grace. The truth is, Daemon should be far away from this court.
In a way, Otto is trying to protect Viserys, and even trying to protect the realm from the mad behavior and unjust nature of Daemon. He knows that if Daemon were to be able to influence Viserys' decisions, or become king, that the realm would probably descend into chaos. That is why when the councillors are discussing Viserys' successor, Otto suggests RHAENYRA, despite knowing that female governance is something that is unprecedented in Westerosi history.
The king's firstborn child.
RHAENYRA. A girl. No queen has ever sat the Iron Throne.
However, when Alicent marries Viserys and bears him a son, Otto changes his stance. This time, Otto supports Aegon's claim, because he understands that the realm will support his claim over RHAENYRA's.
It wouldn't matter if she were Jaehaerys himself, born again. RHAENYRA is a woman.
Otto is actually right about this assumption. Aegon's claim is based on the Andal customs of male primogeniture, the exact same custom that has allowed the Lords of Westeros to retain their lands and their positions. Therefore, it's in their best interest to support Aegon's claim, and Otto understands this. The fact that Viserys names RHAENYRA but never addresses the consequences of that proclamation, especially for all of the Lords of the Realm, is precisely why they will never accept RHAENYRA's claim or governance. As Viserys' hand, Otto is probably aware of this, which is why he tries so hard to convince Alicent. But Alicent is a fool. Otto is right when he says that RHAENYRA will have to kill Alicent's children in order to secure the throne if she ever comes into power. But Alicent doesn't believe that RHAENYRA would do that. Alicent, as I said, is a fool. Even Robert Baratheon, another fool, was sound enough to realize that in order to secure his own position on the Iron Throne, he'd have to execute Rhaegar's children.
I'll kill every Targaryen I get my hands on.
It's obviously a reprehensible act, which is why Alicent chooses to not believe it. But it's an unfortunate reality of playing the Game of Thrones and keeping power. Even if RHAENYRA herself doesn't want to give the order for Alicent's children to be killed, it still won't stop any of RHAENYRA's allies from doing the deed in order to win her favor. This is again what happened in Robert Baratheon's case when he was faced with the very same task. He couldn't bring himself to do it because he knew that it was reprehensible, so Tywin Lannister did the act for him in order to win his favor. That is why Oberyn Martell was so adamant on seeking justice against the Lannisters for what they did to his sister and her children. Even in real history, things like this have happened before. Henry II didn't particularly like Thomas Beckett, the Archbishop of Canterbury. They had been friends once, which is why Henry made him the Archbishop in the first place. But once he was in the position, Thomas made Henry's life exceedingly difficult. Things got so bad for Henry that one day in court he exclaimed, "Will no one rid me of this turbulent priest?" Now, Henry was just venting because he was frustrated, but he said the words during a meeting surrounded by his lords and knights. They all knew that Henry didn't like Thomas, so they interpreted his words as a wish that they could grant him. Thomas died shortly after. The whole point of this story is to give an example of how Rhaenyra's lords may misinterpret her desires. Her lords know that Rhaenyra wants to sit on the Iron Throne, and they know that Viserys' sons would pose a threat to her authority as long as they live. So it's likely that they would do the same thing as Henry's lords did with Thomas Beckett, or what Tywin did with Rhaegar's children. Otto understands that this could be a possibility, so he urges Alicent to strike first. Otto wants to seize Rhaenyra and Daemon and execute them before they can act against her and her children. Otto is being realistic about this situation because he understands how the Game of Thrones is played, even if Alicent herself doesn't. Alicent tries to resist him because she believes that Viserys would have never wanted for this to happen. But one could question that, because Otto had tried before to prevent this very scenario from happening in the first place.
There is another choice beyond Casterly Rock. One perhaps you might be more comfortable with, one closer to home.
On the third episode of the season, during the hunt in celebration of Aegon's name day, Otto does propose an alternative in order to prevent future conflict. He suggests that Viserys betroth Rhaenyra to Aegon himself. Now to us, the audience, this idea seems preposterous and absolutely crazy. Aegon is only a year old, and Rhaenyra is 17 during this time period, so the idea itself seems mad. However, within the context of Westerosi culture, Otto's suggestion isn't mad or crazy at all. Westerosi culture is based on medieval culture, and during medieval times, it wasn't uncommon for young lords and ladies to be betrothed to older lords and ladies in order to meet political objectives. And even within the show, it isn't preposterous to the other characters that Viserys is considering a betrothal to Laena Velaryon. So it isn't crazy that Otto suggests that Rhaenyra be betrothed to Aegon. When Aegon comes of age, only then will they say their vows and be married, and that's what Otto is suggesting. It also isn't strange that Aegon and Rhaenyra are brother and sister. The Targaryens practice incest to keep their bloodlines pure in order to be able to control their dragons. Remember that when Viserys learns of Rhaenyra and Daemon's incestuous affair, he isn't mad at the fact that they are having an incestuous affair. He is mad at the fact that their affair is ruining his plans to marry Rhaenyra into a noble house that will give them a political advantage. He is mad at the political consequences of the affair, not the affair itself.
You have ruined her. What lord will wed her now in this condition?
So when OTTO HIGHTOWER suggests a betrothal between Aegon and Rhaenyra, it isn't actually a crazy or preposterous idea. It's an idea that could have prevented the war from happening in the first place, and that actually makes it a pretty good idea. So Otto, again, was right. But what do you think? Let me know down below in the comments section. If you like this video, click the thumbs up button and subscribe for future content. Thank you for watching. Peace.